His wife sent him 3 heart emojis at 6:32 p.m. on their 10th wedding anniversary. She said she was stuck at work. Big deadline. So sorry. He was sitting in the parking lot of a restaurant he'd booked weeks in advance, wearing a secondhand suit he bought specifically for that night, with a bouquet of stargazer lilies on the passenger seat, her favorite, the same one she'd carried down the aisle. He almost drove home. Instead, he walked inside, sat down, ordered a glass of wine, and 2 tables away, behind a decorative wooden screen, he saw her, in the black dress he'd bought her for Christmas, sitting across from another man, champagne on the table, her hand in his, and then she kissed him. He was 2 steps from flipping that table when a woman he had never seen before grabbed his arm and said 4 words that changed everything. Sit down. I know. After you hear what happened next, drop your rating in the comments. Out of 10, how clean was this one? Let's see what everyone thinks. Aldrich Sable was not the kind of man who asked for much. He was born in 1980 in Churchill, Richmond, one of those neighborhoods where the houses lean and the people inside them are tougher than the architecture. His mother, Della, raised him and his 2 brothers alone on a postal worker's salary. 31 years carrying mail through heat and ice, and the occasional dog that thought her ankle looked like lunch. She never complained once. She never let them see her struggle, which meant she was always struggling. Aldrich became an electrician because electricity made sense to him in a way school didn't. The logic of circuits, the predictability of current, the satisfaction of making something work that didn't work before. Journeyman license at 23. Master's license at 27. And in 2009, at 29 years old, he started Sable Electric with 1 van, a set of tools, and a $12,000 loan from a credit union that probably shouldn't have approved it. But the loan officer knew his mother and figured any woman who carried mail for 30 years raised a son who paid his debts. She was right. He paid it back in 18 months. By 2024, Sable Electric had 8 employees, 2 service vans, contracts with 3 property management companies, and a reputation across Richmond for showing up on time, doing the work right, and not charging for things that weren't done. It wasn't wealth. It was something harder to build than wealth. It was character made visible. He met Paige Langford in 2012 at a barbecue in the Fan District. She was 29, working as an administrative assistant at a law firm. He was 32. Still wearing a polo shirt with a small electrical burn near the collar because he come straight from a job and didn't have time to change. She didn't care about the burn. She said it made him look like someone who actually worked for a living. They married 2 years later, March 15th, 2014, at St. Patrick's Church in Churchill. 70 guests. His mother made the potato salad. It was real. For 8 years, it was good, not spectacular. Real. The kind of marriage where you argue about the dishwasher and get coffee in a travel mug on the way to your kid's soccer game and understand, quietly, that this is exactly what you signed up for. Ryland came in 2016. Odette in 2019. The house on Montrose Avenue needed full rewiring when they bought it. Aldrich did it himself over 6 weekends, because that's what electricians do. They fix what's broken, even when it's theirs. Paige joined Mercer Gaines Capital in 2018. It was a step up, better pay, better title, real benefits. She was excited. She talked about Sterling Mercer like he was a character in a novel. A $40 million CEO with a corner office overlooking the James River, custom suits, old Virginia money. Aldrich was happy for her. He didn't notice that the admiration in her voice was becoming something else. The distance started in late 2022. Gradual, the way it always starts. Later nights. Shorter conversations. New clothes appearing in the closet. Expensive things that didn't match her salary. The feeling of sleeping next to someone who was already somewhere else in their mind. Aldrich thought it was work stress. He chose to fight for the marriage. He planned the anniversary dinner. Booked bastions on East Carey Street. She'd mentioned once that it was supposed to be romantic. He bought the suit from a consignment shop on Broad Street because master electricians don't have Nordstrom budgets. He picked up the Stargazer lilies in person this year because he wanted to hand them to her at the table. Watch her face. See if she still looked at him the way she had when she was 29 and he was 32, and they were standing in that church promising each other forever. The text came in at 6:32 p.m. Stuck at work. Big deadline. So sorry, babe. Happy 10th. Love you. 3 hearts. A kiss emoji. He sat in the parking lot for a long time. Then he walked in anyway. He was seated near the back. He set the lilies on the empty chair across from him. He picked up the menu. And when he looked up, he saw the black dress. It was the dress he had bought her for Christmas 3 months ago from a boutique in Carytown. She had tried it on in the bedroom, twirled in it, said she was saving it for something special. She was wearing it tonight at the restaurant she'd mentioned once months ago, on their anniversary, with another man, silver-haired, tanned, a suit that probably cost more than Aldrich's truck payment, his hand resting on hers on the white tablecloth, champagne on the table, the kind with the thin stems that only appear in places where money means nothing. She laughed. The real laugh, unguarded, unperformed, the one Aldrich used to hear across the kitchen when he caught her off guard. She was giving that laugh to someone else. And then she leaned across the table and kissed him. Not a peck, not a social gesture, a real kiss with history and intention and the promise of what comes after dinner. The kind of kiss Aldrich hadn't received from his wife in months. He stood up. He was going to walk over there. He was going to flip that table and look at his wife on their 10th wedding anniversary and ask how the deadline was going. He made it 2 steps. Then a hand closed around his forearm. Sit down. The woman beside him was late 40s. Dark hair pulled back tight. Navy blazer over a white blouse. No jewelry except a watch that looked functional, not decorative. The posture of someone who had spent years standing in rooms where standing correctly mattered. Let go of my arm. Sit down first. Lady, I don't know who you are, but my wife is over there kissing another man. She didn't raise her voice, didn't loosen her grip, just looked at him with gray eyes that were perfectly, absolutely still. I know who that man is. I know who your wife is. I know what's happening at that table. Sit down. The real show is about to start. Something in the way she said it stopped him. Not the words, the certainty behind them. The kind of solid, structural certainty you can feel through a wall before you even touch it. He sat down. Her name was Vivian Hale, private investigator. 14 years as a detective before she went private. She had been hired 3 months ago by a woman named Marguerite Ryland, the second ex-wife of the man currently filling Paige's champagne glass. His name was Sterling Mercer, CEO of Mercer Gaines Capital, where Paige worked, where she had worked since 2018. The affair had started 14 months ago. Aldrich thought about the last 14 months. The late nights, the distance, the expensive clothes, the conversations that went nowhere, the feeling of lying next to someone who had already left. 14 months. And he had believed every single lie. Vivian reached into her blazer and produced a folded bank statement. She slid it across the table. The account was in Paige's name only. Balance, $211,847.33. Monthly deposits of $15,000 from an entity called Mercer Advisory, LLC, a shell company registered to Sterling Mercer. No employees, no clients, no operations. Its sole purpose was to funnel money to Paige. $210,000. Hidden, systematic. While they were married, the waiter was bringing Sterling and Paige a second bottle of champagne. The anniversary lilies were wilting in the chair next to Aldrich. He set the bank statement down. His hands were doing something he had never experienced in 20 years of working with live wires. Trembling. What do you want from me? He asked. 30 minutes, Vivian said. Don't approach them. Don't confront them. Let me finish. And then let my team finish. Tonight, they leave this restaurant and go to the Jefferson Hotel, room 412. My colleague is already there. By morning, you'll have an evidence package no judge in Virginia will ignore. And if I wait, she looked at him steadily. You won't get a scene. You'll get everything. He ordered another glass of wine. He breathed, and Vivian Hale told him the rest. Sterling Mercer's divorce from Marguerite in 2021 had not been ordinary. When Marguerite discovered Sterling's previous affair with his executive assistant before Paige, a woman named Elise Corwin, she hired a very, very good attorney. The settlement was $8 million, but contained something unusual, a morality clause. If Sterling engaged in another workplace affair within 5 years of the divorce, he owed Marguerite an additional $5 million penalty. His attorney told him not to sign it. He signed it anyway, because men like Sterling Mercer are always arrogant enough to believe they can control themselves. He could not. Paige was not just his current executive assistant. She was his second pattern, and the clause was ticking. Vivian's team had 47 photographs, 11 timestamp hotel visits to room 412 at the Jefferson, credit card receipts, the hidden bank account records, text messages obtained through legal discovery, the full financial trail of Mercer Advisory, LLC. Everything documented, admissible, and airtight. Why are you telling me this? Aldrich asked. Your client is Marguerite. What do you get from helping me? My job is to build a case that triggers the clause. Your wife is the evidence. The photographs, the hotel records, the financial trail. That proves Sterling violated the clause. Marguerite gets her $5 million. She paused. You get the collateral benefit. Everything I've gathered about your wife is yours to use in your own divorce proceedings. I'm not your investigator. But the evidence doesn't care who uses it. He sat with that for a long moment. Go home, she said. Kiss your kids goodnight. Act normal. Tomorrow, call an attorney. I'll send the full case file. Your attorney will know what to do. He looked at the lilies in the empty chair. The ones Paige had carried at their wedding. The ones he had picked up in person this year. So he could hand them to her at the table and watch her face. He stood up, left cash on the table. Mr. Sable. He turned. Happy anniversary. It wasn't sarcastic. It wasn't cruel. It was a quiet acknowledgement of a woman who had watched enough lives get dismantled to know that sometimes the only thing you can offer someone is a truth, even when the truth is a knife. He walked out of Bastion's at 9:07 p.m. through the main dining room, past the bar, past the hostess stand, out into the March night. He did not look at the corner table. He did not look at Paige. He did not look at the black dress. He got in his truck, put the lilies on the passenger seat, and drove home. Ryland and Odette were asleep. He stood in the doorway of their room for 20 minutes, watching them breathe. Ryland 7, sprawled across his mattress like he'd been dropped from a height, baseball glove on the nightstand. Odette 4, curled with her stuffed rabbit, her thumb hovering near her mouth in sleep, a habit she was trying to break, but kept returning to when the conscious effort relaxed. He didn't cry. He wanted to. But something harder than tears had formed in his chest in the 2 seconds between seeing that kiss and feeling Vivian's hand on his arm. Not rage. Not grief. Something forged. Resolution. The cold, structural certainty of a man who had spent his life wiring buildings so the light stayed on, and who now understood that what needed rewiring was right in front of him. The next morning, he called Boone Taggart, divorce attorney, former military JAG, office on Main Street in a building that used to be a bank, which felt appropriate, because divorce in Virginia is essentially a financial audit conducted under emotional duress. Walk me through it, Boone said. Aldrich walked him through it, every detail. When he finished, Boone set down his coffee. Virginia is a fault-based divorce state. Adultery is grounds, and you have professional-grade evidence. The hidden account is concealment of marital assets. That destroys her credibility in equitable distribution. And the payment structured through a shell company to avoid detection? That's not just deception, Aldrich. That's a conspiracy between your wife and her employer to defraud you. Custody? A parent who has systematically lied to their spouse for 14 months, concealed $200,000, and conducted an affair with their boss is not a parent the court tends to favor. I'm going after primary custody. And based on what you've told me, I think we get it. Boone filed for divorce on April 3rd, 2024. Paige was served at her office. at Mercer Gaines Capital, in front of Sterling Mercer's corner office with a view of the James River. That evening, she came home in tears. Aldrich, what is this? Is this because I've been working late? I told you. Paige. She stopped. I was at Bastion's on our anniversary. I saw you. The color drained from her face, the way current drains from a circuit, when you kill the breaker all at once. Complete. Instantaneous. I made a reservation for the two of us for our 10th anniversary, and I sat 2 tables away and watched you kiss Sterling Mercer while the text you sent me about being stuck at work was still on my phone. She sat down, not in a chair, on the floor, like her legs had stopped receiving signals. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. 14 months. $210,000 in a hidden account from a shell company your boss created to pay you. 11 visits to room 412 at the Jefferson Hotel. 47 photographs. Text messages. Credit card receipts. He took a sip of water. I know everything, Paige. Not because I spied on you. Because someone else was already watching Sterling, and they found you in the frame. She was crying now. The real crying. The crying of someone who's been running a deception for 14 months, and has just hit the wall at full speed. The kids. Aldrich, please don't take the kids. I'm not taking anything that isn't mine, but I'm not giving up anything that is. I'll end it with Sterling. Tonight, we can go to counseling. You wore the dress I bought you for Christmas to dinner with another man on our anniversary. You sent me a text with heart emojis while you were sitting across from him. You had $210,000 from me in an account I didn't know existed. He set the glass down. Counseling doesn't fix that. Nothing fixes that. She stayed on the floor for a long time. He went upstairs, checked on the kids, closed their door. That was the last real conversation of his marriage. The divorce took 5 months. Boone was methodical and relentless. The kind of attorney who builds cases the way Aldrich built wiring. Every connection tight. Every junction secure. Nothing left to chance. Paige's attorney argued that the hidden account was personal savings, not subject to disclosure. Boone presented the Mercer Advisory LLC records, the shell company, the structured payments, the direct trail back to Sterling. The judge was not impressed with the personal savings argument. He argued the affair was irrelevant to custody. Boone presented the full pattern. 14 months of sustained deception, the concealed account, the anniversary text sent from 2 tables away. The judge noted that a parent who demonstrated a sustained capacity for deception was entirely relevant to evaluating custodial fitness. The hidden account, $211,847.33, was frozen and subject to equitable distribution. Paige lost primary custody. Aldrich was awarded the children during the school week. Paige received alternating weekends. The house on Montrose Avenue went to Aldrich as the primary residence for Ryland and Odette. Sterling Mercer's reckoning came separately but simultaneously. Marguerite Ryland's attorney filed to enforce the morality clause in April 2024. Sterling's attorneys fought for 3 months. In July, a judge ruled the clause enforceable. Sterling owed Marguerite $5 million. 3 major clients pulled their money from Mercer Gaines when the affair pattern became public knowledge in Richmond's business community. The fund went from managing approximately $200 million to $140 million inside 6 months. Sterling didn't go broke. Men like Sterling Mercer never go broke. But he went from being a man who was respected in Richmond to a man who was merely tolerated. For someone whose entire identity was built on status, that was its own kind of reckoning. Paige was let go from Mercer Gaines. Not for the affair. That would have been a lawsuit for restructuring. The kind of restructuring that happens when a CEO needs to quietly remove the person who reminds everyone of his worst decision. No severance. No reference. An NDA she signed on the way out, ensuring she could never speak publicly about her time there. Vivian Hale sent a final report after Marguerite's case closed. Professional. Thorough. No flourishes. At the bottom, a handwritten note.